Have a listen to this. Have a listen to this.
Interest rates are higher. I know people don't like that, but you should be welcoming a stronger economy.
And maybe a deal has a point about the machinery of capitalism being oiled with the blood of the
The
worker.
United States is a country that has always paid all of its bills.
Lannister always pays his debts.
Don't let the bastards get you.
Hello and welcome to Comedian vs Economist. We demystify the world of money and give you a handle on the bigger picture. My name's Adam and we're joined as always by my little older brother and real-life economist, Thomas. Hi, Thomas.
Yeah, g'day, Adam. How are we going?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Hey, stick around for a special treat at the end of the show. You will hear some of Thomas's new poetry gear that he's got going on. It's an absolute banger. I played it over the top of Born Slippy by Underworld. That's just a serving suggestion, though. You don't have to do that. You can have it straight. Thomas, what is it?
Just to be clear, it's not my poetry. The one we're looking at is 150 years old.
Oh, Born Slippy, can I say, then, is the perfect accompaniment.
Timeless. Born Slippy in G major.
So stick around at the end if you're interested in hearing some of it, and then don't forget you can find it at libraryof.love is where you'll find the full series that you can purchase just in time for Christmas. But Thomas, massive show coming up as always. Australia won the Cricket World Cup, but it seems we might be the England of the Economics World Cup. Yeah, a little bit of shade there. Shops open till midnight, people queuing up at the front door on Boxing Day after you went a little too hard on the Christmas cheer. Are we really surprised that retailers aren't looking forward to Christmas? And have you ever thought about adding a backing track to your next job application? Well, one company is insisting on it. But first, Thomas, this is a little joke. How do you fire a tech CEO?
How?
Press Ctrl+Altman+Delete. Big shake-up in tech over the weekend, Thomas. What happened?
Yeah, Sam Altman got fired. So Sam Altman being the founder and CEO of OpenAI being the company that launched the behemoth ChatGPT.
Yeah.
So big story. Not clear what's happening exactly.
I mean, he only got fired at least. Like the previous kind of big tech superstar, SBF, Sam Bankman-Fried.
Yes.
He got 100 years jail. So in terms of exiting a company after really dominating, getting fired is not the worst result.
Yeah. It's super interesting. I mean, Sam Altman's, I think, is the real deal, and he's had a long career. Like, he's only 38 and CEO of OpenAI, but he was the founder of Y Combinator, which was like a famous Silicon Valley startup.
Yeah.
So he's got some serious runs on the board, and had become really the public face of ChatGPT.
Almost the public face of AI.
Yeah.
Like the non-AI generated
definitely.
public face. I mean, there was other. There was a lot of other faces, obviously, but his was the public, the real face of AI.
Yeah, he was. So it's a big story that he's gone.
So why did he get fired?
Well, we don't really know. The board released a statement saying his departure follows a deliberative review process by the board, which concluded that he was not consistently candid in his communications with the board.
Okay, that'll do it.
Hindering the board's ability to exercise its responsibilities. The board no longer has confidence in his ability to continue leading OpenAI.
Yeah. Apparently his termination letter was really good. You could hardly tell it wasn't written by a human.
Act as if you are the board of OpenAI.
Right.
Yeah. So everyone's wondering what that means, that he was not consistently candid, which seems to suggest he was lying about some stuff. But then everyone's like, well, what was it? Why was the board not okay with it? Yeah, a bit of speculation.
Okay.
So it's interesting. Like, I've got two things for you. I've got like the leading theory, and I've got the most juicy theory.
Oh, good.
About why he's gone.
Okay.
So the leading theory, so the kind of the thing to step back and understand is that OpenAI it has a weird structure. It's run by a not-for-profit, and then the not-for-profit controls OpenAI Global, which is the for-profit entity.
Oh.
Well, it has a cap profit model. So investors can only ever get back 100 times what they put in.
Oh, it's still not bad.
Still not bad, right?
Yeah.
Microsoft's like not having that.
Because I could understand if investors were upset, like when they found out that it was a not-for-profit. They'd already invested. How's profits looking? No, we're a not-for-profit. Yeah, what? No. This is a philanthropic venture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it had this sort of weird structure, and it was sort of set up. It was set up in 2015 with like a whole big names in big tech. There was Altman, Reid Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn, Amazon Web Services was involved, Infosys, Peter Thiel, and Elon Musk were all part of the founders in 2015, and set it up as a not-for-profit. And the idea is like, we want to ensure artificial general intelligence benefits all of humanity. That was written into the mission statement. And it's sort of what like created this sort of like good vibes around OpenAI. It's like, oh yeah, like they're potentially scraping all of humanity, all the copyrighted material to train their language models, but they're nice guys. They're doing this for a good reason.
Friendly robots.
Friendly robot. But then they realized that kind of wasn't going to work because they needed a lot of capital to do all this training. It's a very capital intensive business. And investors aren't going to get on board unless there's a profit motive. And so they created OpenAI Global, which is controlled by the not-for-profit, but has this cap profit model. But still it's run by OpenAI. And this was a bit of a thing we were looking at, like, Microsoft's involved to the tune of like 13 billion US, and saying like, is Microsoft going to be okay with the future of the company and the direction of the company being controlled by this not-for-profit, which can really just go over the top of Microsoft. So this is the other thing. So Microsoft had no idea that Sam Altman got booted.
Right.
And apparently the CEO is furious. And blindsided and furious is how the AFR was reporting it.
So this is a developing story. We're recording on Monday, the 20th of November. I'm reading things already today that Sam Altman's back in the building, and this is all going to go pear-shaped, and he's going to turf the board in like a reverse backhand coup. So yeah, this could all be changed by the time you hear this, whenever you listen to it, but there's just something worth noting. So that's so what are your theories then? You said you had a leading theory, and then
the first one is he's doing some kind of deal with Microsoft to sort of like extract the global for-profit version from under the control of the not-for-profit,
right?
Because and Microsoft, normally if you own 49% of the company, you get a seat on the board, or you get to appoint directors to the board. Yeah. Microsoft had no right to that, and so it was completely blindsided by this, which is kind of like gets to the point of why it was a problematic structure.
But Altman's also on the board, and he wasn't even invited to the meeting. Which you can understand, but at the same time, it's like, well, no, we've got a board, right? The board made a decision, but the board sounds like they made the decision without inviting one of the specific members of the board who the decision was about. Yeah. So that's how he ended up on the outer, and then on the extreme outer. Right. So the leading theory is that
Altman was doing some kind of deal with Microsoft to circumvent this kind of control structure, and then the board found out and went, "Oi, that's not really what we're about, and we don't want to be cut out of things, so you're fired."
And what's the juicy theory that you mentioned?
The juicy version
in this one,
yeah, the juicy version, and this is me just making this up, so
okay.
Take it as you will, but the charter effectively of the not-for-profit has in it the goal of attaining artificial general intelligence that as they define it, can outperform humans at most economically valuable work. Once it achieves artificial general intelligence, and artificial general intelligence is like human level intelligence. So it's like, one, it's pretty vague. Two, not a particularly high bar. But once it achieves human level intelligence, then the not-for-profit then takes over all the IP generated by OpenAI Global,
right?
Which then would effectively cut Microsoft out of everything.
Okay, right. And so Microsoft, that's why Microsoft's pretty upset about Altman being booted, because they asked Bing GPT what this looks like in 10 years, and Bing said it's bad.
Yeah.
Got to get Sam back.
Well, I mean, that's the other piece of the puzzle. Bing went down for 12 hours on around the same time. So
Bing was in a board meeting with the other members. All right, Thomas, turns out Australia is not winning at economy. What's going on?
Yeah, there's 3 separate reports which from global bodies that have Australia running last or worst. Yeah,
It's not where we want to be.
No, it's not.
Is it? Does it matter?
It's not good. None of those things are good.
Okay.
Yeah. So the first is around inflation. So we got US inflation last week. Came in softer than expected at 3.2%. So that's coming down quite quickly and quite nicely. Like, that's actually not far off target now. So US is going to be pretty happy with that. Same as the Eurozone's down to 2.9%. So that's a good result. And even Britain's down to 4.6%.
Yeah, right. Because they were at like 47% or something at one point. Not that high, but
No, not that high. But they've gone into double digits, I think.
Yeah.
So Australia at 5.4% is lagging the world with inflation. But then The Economist came out, Economist magazine, and ranked Australia number 1 for entrenched inflation.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So entrenched inflation is a measure they've made up, but they add CPI plus CPI expectations for 12 months going forward, plus Google search behavior. I don't know how they're doing that, but they're including that one.
Maybe they're just checking for results for entrenched inflation. Trying to understand as it spreads through the economic community. As you mentioned, it's a term that we just made up. So
there's those householders searching for, how do I get rid of inflation?
Yeah,
a few other things, but yes, inflation dispersion too, but like how wide it is. So like in the CPI basket, it's a very broad base. Like everything's going up more so than I don't know what it is, but 80% of things are going up. Whereas in other countries, they've got inflation, but only 60% of things are going up or something. Yeah. So number 1 in the world apparently, ahead of Britain, Germany, and Canada.
So what do we do?
I don't know if you do anything about that one.
Okay. Just maintain this holding pattern that I've been in since I was born.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's nothing you can do about it.
Don't underestimate me, Thomas. All my life I've had knockers like you telling me I can't influence inflation. You just watch me. This is that Big Brother thing all over again.
All right, no, you do it. I can't believe in you. You could take on inflation.
Okay.
So that's not good. We got chunky inflation. I think part of that's the energy story. We had big energy spike. Part of it's rent. That's sort of driving things as well. So not great. The other thing that came out from the OECD saying they looked at real household income per capita, so per person, and we're down 5.1%, which is the biggest fall across the OECD in the past 12 months. Real income's fallen 5.1%, biggest fall in the OECD. In contrast to the OECD as a whole, average living standards increased 2.6%, and even like US is up 3.5%, UK up 2.2%. So that's a big decline. We're now real incomes are falling and falling quickly.
So noting that I was willing to help and I can't. I'm now shifting to who do we blame for this?
Yeah.
Is it the RBA? Is it the government? Is it COVID still? Surely that's only got so many legs before we...
I mean, you look at the components, it's real incomes per capita. So real is about inflation. So inflation's high, so that's dragging on incomes. So that's part of it. So we've got higher than average inflation globally. Incomes are also growing very slow. Wage price index came out last week, growing at 4%. That's very soft. Not very soft. It's soft given how high inflation is. It still means incomes are going backwards. And then you got per capita, and we've had over the past 12 months big immigration intake. and that sort of makes all your per capita numbers worse typically. So they're the three components. Deloitte's saying that about a third of that decline that we saw over the past 12 months, Deloitte Access Economics lead partner Pradeep Phillips said about a third of that comes from the population growth.
Okay.
So they're the three factors which, and we have higher than average inflation, lower than average wage gains globally, and then higher than average immigration intake compared to the rest of the world. So all of those things combine to give us the worst real household income per capita result in the OECD.
Right. Oh, looks like we are all moving to New Zealand.
Yeah.
Spain. Do we have any data on them? Spain. Is that where we're off to?
Number one, 6%. I don't know why Spain's doing well.
Well, they won the Women's World Cup. See, it all comes back to sport.
Sport, yes.
All right, let's take a break here. We'll get a word from this week's sponsor and be back with more Comedian versus Economist right after this. Welcome back. You're on Comedian versus Economist. You can send us an email, cve@equitymates.com, or via the website, equitymates.com/CVE. If you have been listening to the buy or sell series I've been doing over on Equity Mates Investing podcast, I'd love to hear what you thought of it. So get in touch. Send us an email through cve@equitymates.com. Thomas, retailers are bracing for a rough Christmas. What's happening? Why are they not as excited as we all are for Christmas?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. So there's a survey put out by the Australian Retailers Association in collaboration with Roy Morgan, shows that 30% of shoppers will cut their Christmas gifting budgets this year. Yeah, average gifting spend is tipped to fall from $700 in 2022 down to $646 per person.
Per person? $646 per person?
That's what they're saying. Maybe that's per household.
That's outrageous.
Per household, per person.
If that's the average, then maybe my kids do have a reason to complain about their gifts. I still think that they could just appreciate a new toothbrush that Santa got, but that's a lot. $646 per person. I guess overall, if you're in a family of four, you buy 3 gifts, or more than one gift usually per person. That still seems high.
It's not the median; it's the average. So if you have big spenders in there,
the 1% buying,
the 1%, they're just
buying their significant other a new Rolex for January.
Yeah. So I don't know. So, but I look at this and think like they're selling this as a bad news story. Many Australians are under significant financial pressure. Their Christmas gifting behaviour will reflect this. But you got 30% of shoppers cutting their budgets. 61% are holding at last year's level, and then 9% intend to spend more. It's like. But that feels like kind of like a normal year, right? Like
it also feels like way more people than I would have given credit for are planning their Christmas spend.
Yeah, I know.
Like
down to the dollar.
Down to the dollar. How much are you planning on spending on Christmas? $646. I reckon will do me this year. No, I get everyone. Like I'm terrible at budgeting. I'm shocking at it, and I just run out of money all the time. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like surprisingly large number of people are putting a lot of thought into it. I guess they've done this. They've crafted the survey in a way that elicits the right.
Something
result.
Like it's also like, why is the Retailers Association wanting to tell that hard news story?
Motivate people back to the shops
out of sadness.
Get them excited about Christmas. Do my bit.
I don't know. Yeah.
What's that? David Jones is struggling.
Yeah. But I mean, this is the other interesting thing, because we've had this large population growth over the past year. So while individuals are cutting back, aggregate volumes, which is what David Jones and so on are facing, they're holding up okay. So you've got, you look at retail sales volumes per person, per working age population, they're down 4.5% over the year. But total volumes are only down 1.7%.
So the retailers are getting the same money. They're getting the same dollars, just from more people.
Yeah. So I put those two together. You got a mild decrease in Christmas spending, offset by large growth in the population. I think the retailers should do okay this season overall.
Bit of a storm in a teacup.
Yeah, that's what it seems to me.
Or a storm in a festive mug. All right, Thomas, I hear that Hilton Hotels is using the Chinese Communist Party to vet job applications. What's going on?
Yeah. No, they're routing all job applications through TikTok, apparently. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Well, not all. Just for entry level jobs. Yeah.
So if you want to be chief financial officer at Hilton Hotels, you don't have to submit a TikTok video?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. No, so they got to record a 30 to 60-second video on TikTok. Yeah, and then explaining how they would go, quote, above and beyond to ensure guests have a good stay. They've then got to tag at Hire Me Hilton AU and use the hashtag
at Hire Me Hilton, right?
And use the hashtag Hire Me Hilton.
This is going to end well, isn't it? So that sounds like not only they're doing that to vet job applicants, but they're also the social media or the marketing departments also got involved. They're like, oh, what are you doing? You're doing, nice one. Yeah, can we get some hashtags in on that so that we get some social media buzz?
Right, that's a little icky. Yeah,
they're not forward thinking at all, are they? So the first 10 people who don't get a job out of this, there's going to be some tasty hashtags coming out about go get stuffed Hilton, hashtag didn't want to work for you anyway, all this sort of stuff.
Yeah, right.
Even after you have made your, Hilton cribs.
Well, this is the other thing, right? Like, not only do you got to apply for a job, now everyone in your network knows that you're applying for a job. Which they go, hey, how'd you go with the Hilton job? Oh, you didn't get it? Oh, awkward.
I told you shouldn't have used that track. Yeah, right. So why are they doing this?
Well, I think one, they're saying that the video because it's customer service roles, the video is just a better way to gauge someone's personal skills than a cover letter is. So that's part of it.
Fair.
But they're also saying that like ChatGPT is a factor now, that everyone's using ChatGPT to write their resumes and their cover letters. The only thing it tells you is how good someone, for an entry level role where you're not saying, I've got 3 years experience doing this and 4 years experience doing that, where it's an entry level. A cover letter is kind of useless and doesn't tell you anything. It used to tell you how, literate someone was and how well written they were. There's kind of almost no useful information in there anymore.
Yeah, right. So they're not even writing it. But then arguably with the rise of deep fakes, even their TikTok video might not be them. Like submit this like some fresh 19-year-old girl like, yeah, I just want to work at Hilton because I'm like all about it. And then this 75-year-old man rocks up. Hi, I'm Susie 77.
So it was a survey. A US employment agency called Resume Builder found 46% of job seekers use ChatGPT now to do resumes and cover letters.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
makes sense. Does it discriminate, do you think, against older people looking to land a job with Hilton who might not be so au fait with technology platforms like TikTok? Like, even if, say, an older person does manage to send a TikTok, like, they're not going to have much chance landing the gig with their video of just a really close-up shot of their ear and them saying, hello? Hello, is this Hilton? I don't know, Beryl. I'm not sure. It sounds like they're there. It's a tough market out there. I'm just saying. All right. Well, good luck to all those applicants out there. Send us your TikTok application videos. Tag us in your video if you like. Why not get on at CVE Podcast is where you'll find us on social media.
Hashtag Hire Me CVE.
We're looking for both comedians and economists. No experience necessary. All right, that does us for this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to stick around after our disclaimer and maybe an ad or two. You will hear the first release of Thomas's new poetry series, which you can find at libraryof.love. So stick around for that. Otherwise, we hope to talk to you next time.
Comedian V Economist is a product of Equity Mates Media. All information in this podcast is for education and entertainment purposes only. It is not intended as a substitute for professional finance, legal, or tax advice. The hosts of Comedian V Economist are not financial professionals and are not aware of your personal financial circumstances. Before making any financial decisions, you should read the product disclosure statement and, if necessary, consult a licensed financial professional. Do not take financial advice from a podcast. For more information, head to the disclaimer page on the Equity Mates website where you can find ASIC resources and find a registered financial professional near you. In the spirit of reconciliation, Equity Mates Media and the hosts of Comedian V Economist acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respects to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people today.
G'day there. Thanks for sticking around. The guy behind SMBC Comics, Zach Weinersmith, says that the key to happiness is finding what you love and getting weird about it. And for me, that's old poetry. And so now I want to look at a poem from 150 years ago and tell you why I think it's really beautiful and a really amazing piece. And just to be clear, this isn't a joke. The next 10 minutes or so is literally going to be a man explaining how a beautiful poem works. So if that's not your bag, please jump off and find something else to listen to. But if you do like it, stick around and I want to share something really beautiful with you. Just for the context for this is I've performed a lot of poetry. So it's sort of been a lot of poetry and that's been my thing. I've probably memorized maybe 200 or 300 poems, I think, something like that. And there's something that happens when you memorize a poem, and there's something in the memorization process, to me, feels like it goes into your body, that I feel like the way that we memorize things, the mind is very impressive, but like the way that rhythm lives in the body is a sort of a memorization tool. And I feel like all ancient cultures, when that memorization happens, it's an embodied experience. And so when you memorize a piece, you sort of imbibe it to a certain extent, and it subtly shifts who you are as a person. And then when you memorize beautiful things or uplifting things or inspiring things or healing things, you take in some of that healing and some of that experience. And I feel like there's an interesting journey to have with these poems and the sort of felt prayers of these poems. And so that's the journey that I want to do with The Crossing, and it's the journey that I'm inviting people to come along with me on. If you go over to www.libraryof.love, you can join up there. I've been in a space where I've been feeling the world pretty heavily. Partly being an economist puts you at the coalface of shitfuckery and seeing horrible things happen in the world and feeling sad for humans and wishing that we could do it better. But I've been feeling it really hard personally, and feeling like in this space of like, oh my God, I can't wait for the year to end. And oh my God, I hope the next year doesn't start soon. I'm not ready for it. And so like praying that there's this small window of respite somewhere in around Christmas, which is always a busy time of year with kids. So it's probably not going to happen. But yeah, just feeling like, oh, I'm not in a good space. I'm not relating to the world in a good way. Yeah, and then my friend said, well, you've got all these old poems. Well, is there something in there that you could look at or remind yourself of to sort of get you ready? And so I thought that's an interesting idea to try and think about. Yeah, and so that's what this is. And this is where this journey starts, is with a poem about self-compassion. In Buddhism, they talk about the second arrow. So you have the negative feeling, like whether it's fear or jealousy or anger or whatever it is, and that's the first arrow. But then you have the second arrow, which is the self-judgment, where you're then disappointed in yourself for feeling these negative emotions, or you're ashamed of them or something. Yeah, and so this is something that I'm relating to at the moment, and so like I felt like I should start with a piece around self-compassion. And the most beautiful poem I know that speaks to that is "My Own Heart Let Me More Have Pity On" by Gerard Manley Hopkins. This is written about 150 years ago, so about like 1860 to 1880, something like that. Gerard Manley Hopkins was a Catholic priest. He went to Oxford and then became a priest against his family's wishes, and then ministered in England, Wales and Ireland. And at the time of his death, he's now one of the greats of English literature, total trailblazer with his style of poetry. But at the time of his death, only 3 people had ever read his poetry, and one of those was his mother. He had no expectation that anyone was going to read his poetry. He shared it with his friend, and that's how we came to know about it. 30 years after his death, his friend published a book, and then it became famous. But through his life, he never expected that anyone was really going to read his poetry. And I think that gives his poetry this beautiful rawness, that the sense that he's really speaking to himself. because he kind of is. No one else is going to read it. And he's also a man who struggled a lot with depression and with grief and with a sort of spiritual torment, like not feeling like his faith was strong enough or that he was really living his right life. He was a pretty tormented character in that way. And so this piece here is, my own heart let me more have pity on. Yeah, so I'll just step through it and then I'll read the whole thing at the end. But the opening 2 lines are, my own heart let me more have pity on. Let me live to my sad self hereafter kind and charitable. And so the opening plea there is like, let me stop beating myself up. I'm sad, let me be sad, let me be kind and charitable to myself. And then he says, let me not live with this tormented mind tormenting yet. And I love that's the idea of the second arrow, the tormented mind tormenting yet. I cast for comfort I can no more get by groping round my comfortless. So I cast like I fish, I'm seeking comfort, I'm groping around my comfortless, but it's a futile activity. I can't find happiness when I'm in my depression. And saying like, yeah, depression is a world unto itself. And when you're in that space, there is nothing that can bring you comfort. And yeah, I can no more get by groping around my comfortless than blind eyes in their dark can day, or thirst can find thirst all in all a world of wet. And I really love these images that, when you are in your depression or your grief or whatever it is, you know that all the things that would normally make you happy are still in the world. There's still beauty and there's still art and there's still music and there's still the people you love. But none of that is able to give you comfort. No more than blind eyes in their dark can day, so no more than blind eyes can see. Or thirst can find thirst all in all a world of wet. That all the world of wet there is the ocean. Hopkins wrote a lot of poetry about seafaring, and he would know that often sailors would die of thirst, even though they're surrounded by water. And this is the idea that we could be surrounded by beautiful things that should be giving us comfort and joy, but we're just unable to, no more than a sailor can satisfy their thirst. And so what I think we have then is this really beautiful description of the way that depression can transform into despair, that, we in this world where we feel like there should be joy and comfort available to us, it just feels hopeless. He then gives us 5 pieces of advice about how to be with that and how to move through that. He then says, so come, myself, my poor Jack self, the Jack self as opposed to the king self, so the higher self. So he's speaking to his lower self. I do advise thee, jaded, let be, call off the dogs of thought a while elsewhere, and leave your comfort root room to grow. And I think this is a beautiful statement coming from an intellectual like Hopkins was, saying like, if thoughts are the problems, if you're thinking yourself into these holes, then you've just got to stop thinking and leave your comfort root room to grow. And I love the way that the comfort here has this organic quality. It needs room for its roots, needs that root room to grow. And it's not suddenly there. It's not, you don't have a sudden joy just suddenly come into your life from depression. It comes slowly and organically the way a flower grows out of the ground. But we need to give it its space to grow. We can't rush it. We need to be gentle with it. Let your joy size at God knows what, to God knows when. It is not yours to know. And so again, like if we leave our comfort root room and let it grow, it's going to come into our life at an unexpected time. We can't force it. We can't make it happen. We've just got to let it come in its own times. The joy itself is God knows what. That's not a sort of a rhetorical expression the way we know. I mean, he's playing on that rhetorical expression, but saying God knows what the next joy in your life will be, and God knows when it will come. It's not yours to know, so just relax. Don't rush it. Don't freak out that it's not there now, and just let it come in its own good time. Then he says, and let those poor souls whose smiles not wrung come see you in your despair. And this, I think, is another idea that feels like a full century ahead of its time. Let those poor souls whose smiles not wrung, so the smiles not wrung from their faces, there's other souls in their despair. Let them see you in your despair, and see that as an act of charity and an act of kindness to give them that flicker of recognition at despair. and in that way almost normalize and say like, yeah, I get it, I'm feeling that too, I give you permission to feel your despair. But then in that, also giving ourselves permission to feel despair and to not feel that we have to hide our despair from the world and be ashamed of it and keep it hidden, which is itself another form of torment. Rather saying it's okay to let people see it, and it's actually an act of service to let people see it. Yes, I find that a very beautiful idea of stepping into vulnerability. And then he says, and let these unforeseen times come rather, the way the skies between Pine Mountains. And there's this really interesting the way he uses rather there, and let these unforeseen times come rather, and then doesn't specify how we are seeing it. But the implication there is that when these unforeseen times, these obstacles and these troubles and these trials in our lives, we tend to treat them as tormentful things. They're painful things, and we get churned up about them, and we see them as very negative and bad things, which they are in a way. But he's saying like we can also think about it another way, and rather we could see them as the way the skies between Pine Mountains, the way the skies between the close and encroach of mountains lights a lovely mile. And there's this beautiful image he's setting up there of the contrast between Pine Mountains, a very interesting phrasing, pie as in piebald or magpie, the contrast of the black and white, of the light and the dark. And so you have the sun setting between mountains, lighting up this lovely golden road. And then you have the close and encroach of the dark mountains, these shadowy forces closing in on that road of sunlight. But in doing that, those dark mountains actually help accentuate and highlight the road before you. And he's saying that if we can let these obstacles and trials and these unforeseen times, instead of being hard, rather let them remind us of what it is we are longing for and what it is we hope for and aspire to. If we can let them be a reminder of that, then we can through our longing, connect to what it is that we're longing for and what we are hopeful for. And there's a certain joy there, and let it remind us of the road we're on and road where we're going and where we hope to be. We can find joy in that. Yeah, so they're the pieces of advice that he's offering us, but really offering himself. And the long process of many nights, of sleepless nights of torment and self-despair, these are the lessons that he's learned and he wants to remind himself of. So let me read it from the top. My own heart, let me more have pity on. Let me live to my sad self hereafter kind and charitable. Let me not live with this tormented mind tormenting yet. I cast for comfort I can no more get by groping round my comfortless than blind eyes in their dark can day, or thirst can find thirst all in all a world of wet. So come, myself, my poor Jack self, I do advise thee, jaded, let be, call off the dogs of thought a while elsewhere, and leave your comfort room to grow. Let your joy sighs at God knows what, to God knows when, it is not yours to know. And let those poor souls whose smiles not wrung come see you in your despair. And let these unforeseen times come rather, the way the skies between Pine Mountains, the way the skies between the close and encroach of mountains, lights a lovely mile. So that was My Own Heart, Let Me More Have Pity On by Gerard Manley Hopkins. That's the first poem in the journey that I'm calling The Crossing, and the journey that I invite you to come along with. We'll go from there into grief next week, or the next offering. But if you want to follow along with that, sign up at www.libraryof.love. Welcome you to come along. We're looking at 7 poems, and there'll be these short talks, and at the end you get all the poems set to music, which I think will be lovely. If you want to come along, would love it. And otherwise, enjoy the economics, and we'll see you next week. Cheers.